here. First, though, some of that bitterness from the trail in 2016 spilling over last night at an annual dinner here in New York City. The usually light-hearted event getting a little tense when Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton entered the room, and then they took the stage. A is for awkward. Good morning. B is for Bill, and welcome here to America's Newsroom.
Good morning, Bill.
How are you?
We're all back in New York City.
We are.
Great to be back.
Vegas.
We did have a really good time in Vegas, didn't we? So good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. I'm Martha McCallum. The Al Smith dinner was last night. It's the most important charity night of the political season, and it always comes right before the big election. It's supposed to be a night to let off steam and benefit Catholic charities. It started off nice enough, actually, for the most part. There were some traditional roast-style jokes that were going back and forth at the nominee's expense, which is the way it's supposed to go. But then it went south pretty quickly.
Thank you. It was built with the hands of God, and nobody can compete with God. Is that correct? Nobody, right? That's right. No contest. It's great to be here with 1,000 wonderful people, or as I call it, a small, intimate dinner with some friends. Or as Hillary calls it, her largest crowd of the season.
Donald, if at any time you don't like what I'm saying, feel free to stand up and shout wrong.
We have proven that we can actually be civil to each other. In fact, just before taking the dais, Hillary accidentally bumped into me, and she very civilly said, "Pardon me."
People look at the Statue of Liberty and they see a proud symbol. Donald looks at the Statue of Liberty and sees a 4. Maybe a 5 if she loses the torch and tablet and changes her hair. You know, come to think of it, you know what would be a good number for a woman? 45.
Hillary is so corrupt. She got kicked off the Watergate Commission. How corrupt do you have to be to get kicked off the Watergate Commission?
Looking back, I've had to listen to Donald for 3 full debates, and he says I don't have any stamina. That is 4.5 hours.
I wasn't really sure if Hillary was going to be here tonight, because I guess you didn't send her invitation by email. Now, if some of you haven't noticed, Hillary isn't laughing as much as the rest of us. That's because she knows the jokes. All of the jokes were given to her in advance of the dinner by Donna Brazile.
And if Donald does win, it'll be awkward at the annual President's Day photo when all the former presidents gather at the White House, and not just with Bill. How is Barack going to get past the Muslim ban?
Hillary has forgotten more things than most of us will ever know.
Now, I think there's a job open at Caroline's this weekend. Because they could use it.
Man.
What's happening, Chris? Good morning to you. How about the love in that room?
That was astonishing. If you think about it this way, this was good-natured humor, so you poke the other guy, but you make fun of yourself, and usually it's a great departure from the usual grind of the trail. But these people really dislike each other, and it really came through.
We were waiting for a moment for a handshake, basically. It came at the end of the night. We'll show it to you in a moment. But Cardinal Dolan was at NBC earlier today, and it came at the end, and there was interaction. He explained their conversation like this.
There were some very touching moments. There were, when we were going in, I said, could we pray together as we were waiting to be announced? And afterward, and after the little prayer, Mr. Trump turned to Secretary Clinton and said, you know, you are one tough and talented woman.
So there's that. That did happen.
It did happen, but it did not evidence itself on the stage. And it's sort of the way that a lot of this campaign has played out, certainly since the debate started, was that Hillary Clinton effectively needles Donald Trump, and then he gets mad. And he let fly. Some of the lines that he delivered could have been good or passable if he would have had a real smile on his face or really been in that spirit. But she definitely got under his skin, and he definitely got mad.
There was an undercurrent here that I don't know if a lot of viewers are aware of, and that was the criticism toward the Catholic faith a week ago. And Cardinal Dolan was talking about it before the dinner, wrote a piece about it, did an interview on it as well. Here is one of those emails, John Halpin in the Podesta file, let's call it. It's an amazing bastardization of the faith. They must be attracted to the systematic thought and severely backwards gender relations and must be totally unaware of Christian democracy. That's just one. It went on, and you know, Dolan's in the middle. And there was no apology that was offered prior to that dinner, even during that dinner last night. And what the mainstream media is picking up on today, Chris, is this, is that Trump was booed. And that Trump said that Hillary Clinton doesn't like Catholics. Well, that was meant to refer back to these WikiLeaks documents here that I just shared with you.
But obviously you wouldn't do that at a charity roast with everybody there. You wouldn't. The right thing to do would not be to bring up that accusation there. Hillary Clinton got help in that way because obviously she would like the support of Catholic voters, and she would like to have the church fathers on her side as she wades into the end of this race. And she is at some point going to have to make a separate piece. She doesn't want to do it publicly because she doesn't want to give the credence to the hacked emails and the Russians and da-da-da-da-da. But I'm sure that in private she's had some moments where she's had to make her contrite heart clear.
And especially the folks living around Philadelphia. You call it a grudge match. I think you could probably call it that. 18 days. Thank you, Chris.
18 days.
Talk to you later. All right, Martha.
Yeah, lots more to come on this. There was another moment that may have surprised some people. The nominees did shake hands, and it took Cardinal Dolan to bring them together and say, hey, you two, why don't you shake hands? You'll see that in just a moment. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, when they took the stage in the last debate the other night, you saw, you know, they walked out, stood behind the podiums. It was really ridiculous when you think about it, that these two cannot just shake hands and have that moment. They had it last night. You know, I think one of the things, Bill, that, you know, I was in the room.
You were there, right?
In the room last night, yeah. And you could feel, I think most everybody wanted to be with them, wanted to laugh with them. You know, both of them got, as I judged it, really equal applause when they got up to speak. You know, people were really enthusiastic, wanted them to be funny. It's an opportunity to show another side of yourself. And Donald Trump, unfortunately, keeps missing those moments to show that sort of humble, gracious side and self-deprecating humor, which he took a crack at. And he got some good laughs in the beginning when he did that. But then it just went, and it just got ugly. And people got turned off.
About the whole handshake deal. In Vegas, the Trump team told us that the Clinton folks let them know
and that's their side
that
of it.
There would not be a handshake there at the debate, and it did not happen either.
Which is really unbelievable when you think about it. And Mitt Romney used that opportunity at the Al Smith dinner. We're going to show a clip coming up to really show another side of himself. And I think it made people at that late date say, wow, this guy's funny and gracious, and a nice opportunity to do that, which may have been missed last night. So we're going to have more analysis of the big dinner coming up in just a little while. In the meantime, this Fox News alert, which is sad and awful news to report today. The first American killed in the operation to retake Mosul. This as ISIS strikes back, attacking targets in the city of Kirkuk, killing at least 11 people. John Huddy is live in our Mideast Bureau. And is the attack in Kirkuk a diversionary tactic at this point with regard to the larger offensive?
Well, it certainly seems that case, Martha. It's a tactic that ISIS has used before. In particular, to give you an example, the battle to retake Ramadi. You may remember ISIS launched suicide attacks in and around Baghdad, again, as a diversionary tactic to try to get resources to that location. So it appears this latest attack in Kirkuk may be the same thing. Here's what we know. ISIS militants stormed a power plant this morning there. Kirkuk is south of Mosul, armed with explosives. They took at least 13 people hostage. They specifically asked to see several Iranian workers who were immediately killed, according to reports, before the attackers apparently blew themselves up, killing all of the other hostages as well. Keep in mind, Iran has been involved, or at least working with Iraq's military and government in the fight against ISIS in Iraq, so that could be why those Iranian workers were targeted. ISIS fighters also stormed a government compound in Kirkuk. So far, at least 18 people we're hearing possibly have been killed, maybe as many as a dozen ISIS militants, though, Martha, the fighting, as we understand, continues there. It's very fluid, so those numbers could go up, and a state of emergency has been declared in the city as Friday prayers have also been canceled, Martha.
All right. Thank you very much, John.
It's going to be a really tough battle, Martha. Yeah. They haven't even gotten into the heart of Mosul with a population of more than 1 million. So this
a lot longer than anybody thought.
You're right. We'll so President Obama now defending Obamacare. This will be on the ballot certainly in 18 days, comparing some of the problems to a starter home that you fix up as you go. But is the president ignoring what many see as a crumbling foundation for the program? We'll get to that.
And yet another round of leaked emails from the Clinton team that show another possible case, and perhaps one of the starkest and most well-defined yet, actually, of pay-to-play. A speech in Morocco is what they're talking about, $12 million, and Hillary Clinton negotiated the deal herself.
Wow. Also, Donald Trump's getting some backlash, but is that overshadowing Clinton's failure to apologize to Catholics offended by her staffers' comments in those leaked emails? More on that as well this morning.
Hillary, rattle on.
You know, because this is a friendly dinner for such a great cause, Donald, if at any time you don't like what I'm saying, feel free to stand up and shout wrong while I'm talking. You know.
So now we have another apparent Clinton Foundation pay-to-play deal found in a new batch of WikiLeaks emails from late last night. A conversation from Clinton staffers showing a $12 million donation that Hillary Clinton secured for a speech in Morocco, and apparently it was all of her idea. Huma Abedin writing to John Podesta and Robbie Mook saying she created this mess and she knows it. End quote. $12 million. Juan Williams, Fox News political analyst, author of We the People, Mercedes Schlatt, former media spokesperson for President Bush and a Fox News contributor. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
There he is, one in a million. Mercy, mercy, mercy me. Okay, so $12 million. This was done a month after she launched her bid for the White House. Mercedes.
Well, I mean, Hillary Clinton at this point should put a for sale sign in front of the White House lawn if she were to become president of the United States. I mean, it's very clear that these foreign governments understand that in order to gain influence, gain access to the Clintons, you pay. You pay for the Clinton Foundation, and that is apparent. What's interesting about this particular email is the fact that Huma Abedin actually is saying, look, she's the one that's she's creating this mess, right? And Hillary Clinton was the one that was personally involved in this negotiation with the Moroccan government. And it raises, I think, Bill, a ton of red flags.
Well, Chris Wallace asked her the other night about the pledge, Juan. So much for that.
Well, she, I think, avoided the question, Bill. I think she was pivoting away from it pretty quickly. I thought that was one of the points where Trump looked like he actually had her on the defensive. But to come to the specific allegations here, let's keep in mind, one, she never gave the speech. It was after she had left her office at the State Department. And remember, while she was Secretary of State, she had charged the government of Morocco with corruption and arbitrary arrest of its citizens. I think that what you have here is a moment where she is saying, oh, I would like to give that speech when I've left the State Department. She wanted to be supportive, but then the question was, would it look as if it was some kind of quid pro quo?
Maybe. Listen, it appears she was just brokering the deal, Juan.
Well, ultimately, she doesn't give the speech. So
I
to say
understand
that she's brokering the deal would suggest, oh, yeah, she's heavily invested and she's looking for the money. But that didn't happen.
Juan, she's about to run for president. They're about to launch this presidential campaign. She's personally involved in the negotiation. So fine, she ended up not going to the meeting, but guess what? Her family ended up going. Both President Bill Clinton and Chelsea went. It just is too close for comfort, and it keeps on this pattern of this appearance of the conflict of interest. And it is very clear. I mean, you had a mining company that was involved that has violated human rights. I mean, it's this continual pattern of the Clintons being involved with these shady companies, with foreign governments who oppress women's rights and gay rights. I mean, we've seen this time and time again, and it really, I think, for American.
I think you have to understand here. One, they're running a charitable foundation that did good work. And what you have here is, I think, a division in terms of her roles. She had left the State Department. She was no longer Secretary of State. She becomes aware that even as she is trying to commit to help the foundation, which is doing good work, that it's too close to the start of the campaign, as you just pointed out. And then her own staff says she created this mess because she was trying to be, you know, a loyal soldier to the family foundation, but she realizes this is just too close, and it opens the door to the kind of charges you're talking about this morning. But that's not corruption, Mercedes. That's confusion.
Well, let's well, we could argue on the basis of corruption rather than confusion, but you also have to realize, and you know this, when she was at the State Department, there was the Haitian situation, the situation in Haiti after the earthquake, where you had the friends of Bill Clinton being taken care of. You have the $1 million deal of Qatar where Bill Clinton got that 5-minute meeting. I mean, it is just what it is that it's this incident after incident that does create this very striking appearance of these conflicts of interest, and the fact that she is putting the White House up for sale.
I appreciate the cases you have both made. Mercedes, does this...
I'm right, Bill.
I'm
not saying... I think you definitely are.
I'm not saying right or wrong. I just think Juan wants to sleep in the Lincoln bedroom if Hillary Clinton wins.
Wait a second.
Bill, you and I will be on the
Mercedes, stand by. I have 30 seconds to find out from both of you whether or not all this stuff matters to voters. And I think it does, Mercedes, but I think perhaps in a different year it might matter more quickly.
Yeah. You've got, you know, it's 18 days till the election. There's not a lot of time to turn this around. Obviously, Americans do not trust Hillary Clinton. There's a distrust factor there, but they have to make that decision. Are they going to, do they feel that she is the safe pick to be the president? And obviously Trump has his own baggage, so I think it's made a very, it's an interesting case.
Juan, I got 5 seconds.
Well, I think when she pivoted away from this, which is really troubling ground for her because of the quid pro quo allegation, she went right to Russia and the idea that this is an effort by Putin to influence the American election. At this point, it's become static. Most people can't pay attention.
My head's spinning.
Yeah.
1 in a million. See you at 5 o'clock. Mercedes, thanks.
Thank you, Bill.
So some brand new sticker shock when it comes to Obamacare, the states that are seeing the biggest price hikes, and why the president still says, do not worry, it's just your starter home, folks. It's going to be okay in the end. We'll talk about that, plus this. That's not supposed to happen. The shark's not supposed to come through the cage. That is really too close for comfort. Incredible video of yet another scary shark encounter. He takes that as a challenge.
We're going to need a bigger cage, McCallum.
So this is a big story and should be very central in this election, because get ready for another spike in your Obamacare premiums. It is coming. Some major insurers have pulled out of this plan, as you know. Rising premiums have been putting a stranglehold on people, on businesses, and on insurance companies, and it leaves some Americans really with not many options out there. President Obama, meanwhile, arguing that it has worked for millions of people.
It's still just a first step. It's like building a starter home or buying a starter home. It's a lot better than not having a home, but you hope that over time you make some improvements.
Because that's supposed to make people feel better about paying twice as much. Charles Payne is the host of Making Money with Charles Payne on the Fox Business Network. Charles, we weren't told this in the beginning, right, that it was just going to be a starter home and that it was going to cost everybody 30% more, 40% more, 50% more. Yeah.
There's a litany of broken promises from, you know, overall you can keep your health plan, you can keep your doctor. Premiums will go down by $2,500. It wouldn't add to the deficit. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of the broken promises. I thought that was a horrible analogy that the president just made with this. It's one of these things where the insurance industry put this together. Mm-hmm. And the insurance industry put it together to save the insurance industry or protect the insurance industry. You look at when
and the White House made deals with them to make sure that they would be protected.
They let them do it. They let them alter it, and then the White House said, "Okay," they rubber stamped it. If you looked at the insurance company stocks when they signed this into law, they went through the roof. Why? They had guarantees. If they listen. Admittedly, they knew people who didn't have insurance, who had pre-existing conditions, and all these things would come on, and that they would be high risk and very expensive. So there were things put in place like traditional reinsurance programs to reimburse the insurance companies if they cost too much. If someone's health costs were over $60,000 to $250,000, the government would pay them 80% of that. So they were in a win-win situation. That goes away. That's all gone away. And who else is going away? All the insurance companies. They don't want any parts of it because it is not. You can't do anything with this with respect to a real marketplace situation. It's not balanced enough. You don't get enough people in there who are going to pay, who aren't going to suck up all of the different needs. It's a disaster. But it was a well advertised disaster. Everyone knew this was going to be a disaster.
I mean, everybody knew there was no way you could pay for what was being proposed, right? The other thing that everybody knew is that the president's preference would have been perhaps a single-payer plan.
Right.
So is that the only way to bail this out? Is that where Hillary Clinton will take us if she's president?
I think so. I think this is think about the subsidies in this. If people making up to 400% above poverty, that might be really enticing for a middle income families who just maybe right above that. If they could say, hey, we'll make it 500%, 600% above poverty, get enough people, lure them in and say the government more or less will pay the majority of your health care bill. And listen, it becomes very enticing to the people who are going to be hit with these huge increases over the next couple of years, particularly just coming in next year alone. So I'm pretty sure that's Hillary's plan. I think that was their plan all along, to be quite frank with you. They've always romanticize what goes on in Europe. And the notion, of course, is that people get free health insurance. Yeah, and they also pay, 100% tax on gas, and they also have another tax here and another tax there. Nothing is free. The money is fungible, it goes into government, and some of it goes to pay for health care. But it's not free, and those have been stagnant economies for decades, not years.
And not to mention the fact that businesses, they're trying.
Emails show that donors got special access to you. Can you really say that you kept your pledge to that Senate committee? And why isn't what happened and what went on between you and the Clinton Foundation, why isn't it what Mr. Trump calls pay to play?
Some brand new video from another close encounter with a shark. It is from August. The great white breaching the diver's cage deep in the waters of Guadalupe Island in Mexico. Shark gets stuck in there. That's not a good situation. Thrashes around, finally wriggles his way out. Chin over the camera there. That video coming to light after a similar close call in the same area. The encounter went viral. Fortunately, no one in either incident was hurt because the shark doesn't really want to eat the person in the cage, Bill. The shark wants to get out.
You know why
of the
that
cage.
is, right?
Why?
Because we just don't taste good.
We don't taste like the stuff that they really like.
We taste like chicken.
Exactly.
17 minutes before the hour.
And why isn't it what Mr. Trump calls pay to play?
Well, everything I did as Secretary of State was in furtherance of our country's interests and our values. The State Department has said that. I think that's been proven.
Hillary Clinton did not answer Chris's question about the pay-to-play allegations. New email leaks putting her at the center of a negotiation for $12 million from the King of Morocco. David Goodfriend, former Deputy Secretary to President Bill Clinton and a Hillary Clinton supporter. David, how are you? Good morning to you.
Morning,
I don't know who wins in 18 days, but the Clintons can raise a lot of money. Defend this.
Well, I've had my emails to John Podesta posted on WikiLeaks, and I've noticed some discrepancies myself. I'm pursuing the right channels to deal with it. But I think we have to talk first and foremost about the source of all these emails.
Are you saying, hang on,
source of all these emails.
So you're saying that you've got emails that are now public and you say they're not accurate?
I don't believe so, and I'm pursuing those. I can't talk about it here on Fox, but I'm pursuing the appropriate channels to look into it.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a different segment.
It's absolutely related to this.
No, let's go ahead and get to let's get to the
Yes,
chart.
Bill, we have to talk about the source of the emails.
This has not been denied. Hillary Clinton negotiated. Huma Abedin is on the emails talking about the exchange. Ultimately, she did not attend, but her husband and daughter did.
Right. So, as I say, Vladimir Putin's email dump is not exactly where I would go for my information. Thank you, Mother Russia. But I will, let's assume for the sake of argument that all these emails are accurate. Here's how I would approach it. Was official action taken as a result of a contribution? That would be bad. That is something I would distance myself from and condemn. But if you're talking about a charity that says, I'll make a speech if you make a contribution. Show me a charity in America that does not operate that way. That's like handing out speeding tickets at the Indy 500.
It was done a month after she announced her her campaign run.
Did she make the speech?
Here is the issue. Here's the issue, and Chris Wallace put the focus on it the other night. She made a pledge in 2009, 8 years ago, that the Clinton Foundation would not be, that we would not muddy the waters. And now, to many, it appears that that was an impossible thing to do, David, based on the amount of money that was coming in, not just in this country, but countries all around the world.
Yes. So if you want to talk more broadly, I mean, I thought you were talking about this particular incident where she was no longer Secretary of State. Is that what you want to talk about? The incident where she's no longer Secretary of State,
and a month after
she's
she launched
negotiated
her
contribution.
Go.
Secretary of State, Bill. See, here's where I come down. All right, I'll just make it really clear for you. Corruption is where official government action is taken in exchange for personal gain. Show me where that happened in this case, and I will condemn it. What I think happened here was that Hillary Clinton did not give a speech because her advisor said it was a bad idea, and if she had, it was going to be as a private citizen with her own charity, getting a contribution in exchange for an appearance, which strikes me as something that charities do all the time. What you're talking about, if you ask a broader question, was it appropriate for the Clinton family to have a charity at the same time that Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State? Then you have to ask if there were official actions taken at state as a result of a contribution. So far, no one has proven that, and I think that Clintons are good enough to understand that their charity work and her official work don't get mixed.
During the debate, everything I did was in furtherance of our country's interests and values.
As Secretary of State. That's exactly right, and I think she stands by that.
How do you allow Russian companies to get the contracts for the uranium deposits all over the world?
Oh, now you don't like Russia. You like them when they give Donald Trump documents, but now you don't like Russia?
I don't like the fact that we allow these Russian companies with direct ties to Vladimir Putin to get access to the uranium deposits overseas and some in this country as well.
I can't believe what I'm hearing. You love Russia when they give you emails, and now you say you hate Russia when they get contracts. Get it straight, Bill.
I'm not saying anything about Russia. I'm saying it's the fact that the Clinton Foundation helped negotiate these deals. While she was Secretary of State, and while she was Secretary of State, these companies in Russia were given the access to the uranium mines. My question for you, David, is this: is that
show me the connection?
Is that okay?
If I'm going to say this again, Bill, till I'm blue in the face. If you can show me that an official action was taken in exchange for a contribution. Look, here, maybe this is something you'll understand. Donald Trump in a business deal would say, make a contribution to my charity as a part of the business deal.
Do you not want to answer the question?
I just did, Bill. Show me the official action. You can't. You can't. And you know what, Bill? You can try to help Donald Trump all you want in this campaign.
This is not about Trump.
That's exactly what you're doing.
David,
it's exactly what you're doing, Bill. Why don't you just say you'd like to put your thumb on the scale for Donald Trump? Because he's going to lose anyway, but you might as well say it.
Are you finished?
Yeah, let's hear it, Bill.
This is about America.
Oh, now okay, how about the Russians spying on our political process? Look, say on the air, Bill, that you don't like Russia trying to interfere with our elections.
Certainly I do not, but you don't have the proof that Russia's doing this.
I do. 17 CIA, 17 national security agencies have said.
David?
Are they lying? Do you know more than they do, Bill? Do you know more than the national security apparatus knows?
David? Thanks for coming on. It may be true ultimately that Russia's responsible for this, but we don't have the fingerprint evidence that that's the case.
So you're smarter than the national security agencies.
I did not say that. Bill. Please don't put words into my mouth.
Well, then are they right or are they wrong, Bill?
From Washington, we will find out about that in time.
Yes, and we'll find out about it at the voting booth too, Bill.
Thank you, David. Enjoy your weekend. More coffee. David Goodfriend of Washington.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
10 minutes now before the hour.
I mean, nobody's denied the content of those emails yet, which I find fascinating, right? I mean, if you saw an email come out that was leaked, you would know instantly. You'd say, well, I never wrote that. It's absolutely not my email. Donna Brazile hasn't said that. None of these people have said that. But this is obviously the talking point that has gone to instantly, which is none of the content matters of any of it, because we should all be worried more about the fact that the Russians leak it. And I think, you know, everyone is concerned, which you've said many times and I've said many times, that is a concern and it is being investigated, but you can't negate both sides of the story in favor of only that part. So anyway, more to come on that. In fact,
we move forward.
So is this Edward Snowden 2.0? New details on the spy case against the ex-NSA contractor that authorities call breathtaking in their longevity and scale. We'll talk about that coming up.
So now Amtrak has banned all Samsung Galaxy Note 7 phones starting today. Wow. It's ordering passengers not to bring the smartphones onto trains and buses or even into the station. Whoa. It comes a week after the Transportation Department banned them from airports and airplanes. The officials citing the possibility the phones could catch fire and explode. Apparently the batteries are way too hot. Amtrak planning to randomly check passengers to make sure that you're not taking a phone with you. Wow.
Federal investigators considering espionage charges for a man accused of stealing classified documents from the NSA over the course of 2 decades. Prosecutors saying the government contractor stole almost as much information as Edward Snowden did. Garrett Tenney is live at the White House with the latest on this. So, Garrett, what kind of information do they believe he took?
Well, Martha, these included some of our government's most highly protected secrets, including our cyber weapons and our cyber capabilities. Federal prosecutors say in a court filing that over the course of 20 years, Harold Martin III stole what they describe as a breathtaking amount of classified information. In a raid on the Navy veteran's home earlier this month, FBI agents found dozens of computers and thousands of pages of classified documents, including many marked secret and top secret. In total, the FBI seized more than 50 terabytes of stolen data. Now, to put that in perspective, a single terabyte is equivalent to roughly 10 million documents or 500 hours worth of movies. So this is just a massive amount of highly classified information, which the FBI agents said they found carelessly lying around his home in the open and in his car. Prosecutors have indicated this case could end up being the largest theft of classified data in history. Martha?
Do we know the motive here?
Well, Martha, he has told prosecutors that he was simply bringing his work home with him to be able to study it and to be able to do better at his work. But prosecutors are concerned that there were more nefarious reasons behind this. They are concerned about the possibility that he was gathering this information to then sell it to foreign governments. The prosecution's 12-page court filing includes this. Given the nature of his offenses and knowledge of national secrets, he presents tremendous value to any foreign power that may wish to shelter him within or outside of the United States. And Martha, we should learn more about this case in that hearing this afternoon.
All right. Garrett, thank you.
So it was supposed to be lighthearted. Got a little uncomfortable, huh? Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton going after one another, and some are wondering in that room, how low can it go?
Pretty low.
Yeah.
On both sides. Donald Trump standing his ground and setting things straight after sparking a new uproar on the campaign trail. The latest controversy is over accepting the election results. Welcome to a brand new hour, everybody, on a Friday. Hour 2 starts now in America's Newsroom. I'm Martha McCallum.
How you feeling?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm fresh. Are you?
How about you take the whole weekend off?
Hey, I'll give it to you, too.
Thank you.
You've earned it. I'm Bill Hemmer. Good morning. Donald Trump has been defending his reluctance in Wednesday night's debate to say that he'll accept the election results, reserving the right to contest the outcome if it's close or perhaps if it doesn't look right. That controversy refusing to die down as the candidates hit the trail today. Trump and Mike Pence are in North Carolina, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire. Hillary Clinton's in Ohio. Tim Kaine is in Pennsylvania. And here is Donald Trump from Delaware County, north of Columbus, Ohio, yesterday.
I would like to promise and pledge to all of my voters and supporters and to all of the people of the United States that I will totally accept the results of this great and historic presidential election if I win.
There you go. All right. Fox News Sunday anchor Chris Wallace making his first appearance on Fox since moderating the final presidential debate. Chris, good morning to you. Great to see you this morning.
Well, good to see you. I'm not as fresh as you two guys are, but good to be with you.
Look, let me be the first officially on Fox to say what a fantastic job you did the other night. And, you know, I think it gave all of us some chills when they introduced Chris Wallace of Fox News moderating that debate and made us all really proud. So thank you for doing such a fabulous job, Chris.
Thank you, Martha.
So when he made that comment at the debate, and you held his feet to the fire, pointing out the history behind the decision to accept the results, what did you think about that in the moment, and what did you make of his parry on that yesterday in Ohio?
I thought it was a big deal and an unprecedented deal, and I had no doubt. You know, I was a moderator, but I'm also a newsman, and I know news when it's being made. And look, let's put this in context. Sure, Al Gore contested the election when it turned out that it came down to 500 votes in Florida. That's a very different deal. We've seen that with close elections in the past. But Trump has been saying for, the last 2 weeks at least, that the election is rigged and that Hillary Clinton and her supporters are trying to steal it. And it was a big enough issue that Mike Pence, Trump's running mate, was asked on Sunday, will you accept the results of the election? And he said that he and Trump will, quote, absolutely accept the results. So it was obviously something I needed to ask him because Trump hadn't said that. And as you point out, when I asked him the first time and he said, well, we'll see, I thought it was important to put it in the historical context that we're talking about one of the tenets of our democracy, one of the strengths of our democracy, which is you have a hard-fought campaign, and then at the end, even if you don't like the results, the loser supports the winner and says there's only one president. And so I wanted to put it in that context as I re-asked him the question, and that's when he said, you know, we'll see, I'm going to keep you in suspense. Yeah. To the best of my knowledge, that is unprecedented to make that kind of statement, particularly in the context of saying that the election is rigged and in the danger of being stolen.
Yeah, I thought that was a really significant line as well when he said, I'm going to leave you in suspense. He likes to build the drama. We've seen that over the course of this, but as you pointed out quite accurately, he's sort of playing with something that we all sort of accept to be one of the truths, one of the solid truths of democracy, and there's been a lot back and forth. He also clarified it this way. Let's play a little bit of this from the same rally yesterday and get your thoughts.
Of course, I would accept a clear election result, but I would also reserve my right to contest or file a legal challenge in the case of a questionable result. Right? And always I will follow and abide by all of the rules and traditions of all of the many candidates who have come before me. Always.
So, he could have said that the other night.
I was going to say, that's a much better answer, and I don't think there would have been nearly the stir had he said that on Wednesday night in front of 71 million people, but he didn't say that.
Before I let you go, what did you think about last night, the Al Smith dinner?
I was disappointed. Disappointed in both of them, but particularly disappointed in Trump. And I don't mean to dump on him, but, you know, I've been covering these elections since 1980. And you know, the Al Smith dinner, you can say it's old-fashioned or silly or whatever. Obviously, it's not silly in the sense that it raises millions for Catholic charities, but that they get dressed up in the white tie and all of that. But there is a kind of elegance. And you know, this gets back to the same issue, Martha, which is, these elections are hard fought, but there needs to be a sense that we're running on the rails, that we're not running off the rails, and that there's no danger that we're not going to come together after an election. And part of that is the Al Smith dinner. And I can remember, you know, with Ronald Reagan or Barack Obama, you know, with a certain dignity and class, Romney last time, you know, making some self-deprecating jokes and then taking maybe a couple of light, maybe slightly cutting, but within the bounds, shots at the opponent. But I do think Trump went over the line. I thought Clinton was somewhat unpleasant, but you know, for Trump to be talking about she crooked Hillary and she was kicked off the commission, and you know, she's pretending that she likes Catholics. And you know, you could tell the crowd was kind of shocked by it and booed him. That's the first time I know that anybody has ever been booed at an Al Smith dinner, and it's just, you know, there needs to be, as tough as these elections and as divisive as these elections are, there needs to be some glue that binds us together, and I'm afraid we're in danger of losing that glue.
Well put. Dignity and class, humility, grace, all those nice qualities that I think everybody would have found a sense of relief from if they had seen some of that go back and forth last night, because there's a lot of anxiety in this country about what's going on in this election, and it was an opportunity that I think was really missed last night to sort of put a little bit of whipped cream and cherry on top of that, which they certainly did not do last night at all. Chris, thank you so much, and again, congratulations on a job well done.
Thank you, Martha.
Be sure to tune into Fox News Sunday. Chris Wallace will sit down with Trump campaign manager Kellyanne Conway, plus an exclusive debate about the race pitting former House Speaker Newt Gingrich against House Democratic Caucus Chairman Javier Becerra. That is at 2 p.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern on Fox News this weekend.
Another day, another WikiLeaks stump now as a demand, as a brand new batch, he said, of emails is released today from the account of campaign chairman John Podesta. The campaign already reeling from the latest revelations, given the appearance of pay to play. That came up with Wallace the other night. Ed Henry's here live in studio. So what do we learn about the interactions with the king of Morocco?
Well, you're right. Chris Wallace asked about pay to play, and Hillary Clinton just blew right past it, never came back to it, and only wanted to talk about the good things about the foundation. Have they done good things? Sure. What we learned from WikiLeaks yesterday, we had an email showing, and this came from not a Clinton critic, it came from Huma Abedin. She wrote an email in early 2015 saying that Hillary Clinton really wanted to give this speech in Morocco because she, Hillary Clinton, as a former Secretary of State, had lined up $12 million from the King of Morocco to go to the Clinton Foundation to set up this big conference in Morocco. Look, people have been making a big deal about Bill Clinton, the former president, raising $1 million from Qatar, getting the check on his birthday. That came out in a previous WikiLeaks stump. Fine. This is 12 times that. This is big money. And I think the point is, if you go back to when Hillary Clinton was up her nomination for Secretary of State, Republican Senator Richard Lugar said, what about these conflicts? What about these potential conflicts? And Hillary Clinton and everyone else swore up and down that they were not going to have conflicts of interest. And then there's another email we got in the last couple of days where Doug Band, a Clinton intimate, said, there are 500 conflicts here. He said that Bill Clinton was pocketing money, cash, to himself, not to the foundation, from 3 different sponsors of the Clinton Global Initiative, and that some of these sponsors were giving Bill and Hillary Clinton gifts that they had in their home. We don't know the answers to all this. These are just the emails going back and forth. Yeah. But it certainly looks like there's a whole lot going on.
And that they have officially said they haven't said, hey, the email's fake.
They haven't challenged the accuracy of them at all.
Are you okay with Russia spying on us? 25,000 more, apparently.
Yes, there's 25,000 already. And WikiLeaks is now saying today, they've just dumped out more, that there will be 50,000 total emails, John Podesta and maybe other Democrats, by Election Day. So you've only got a couple weeks left.
But there was a little teaser last night about Tim Kaine.
Yeah, Tim Kaine. The WikiLeaks is saying, you know, get ready, Tim Kaine, the VP, the running mate, and Donna Brazile, who's now the DNC chair. Now, remember, a previous email came out suggesting that when she was at CNN, there was some coordination she had with either someone at CNN or another network that was working with CNN at a forum for Hillary Clinton, where Hillary Clinton got the question through Donna Brazile, and that exact question was asked by Roland Martin. So Donna Brazile's been through this before. I think an interesting piece of this, though, is that Republican Marco Rubio has said, be careful, Republicans. Don't make too much of this, because at the end of the day, if it could be WikiLeaks or someone else, they're going to be coming after the RNC or a Republican presidential campaign or a Republican senator soon.
I would just prefer to have a conversation in person.
We had a good one this morning before the show.
Yeah, you brought nothing.
I brought
Ed Henry, look at him. He's here in New York.
Keep going.
You look good. Martha, what's next?
So we're going to take another look at some of the highlights from last night at the dinner at the Waldorf Astoria. Both of the candidates, they did have some good jokes at the beginning, both of them, and then some sort of deep digs that didn't go over quite as well. So we'll show you some of the stuff that you haven't seen yet after this. Plus, there's this.
We are back at war in Iraq. Numerous battles underway in the north in an effort to drive out the Islamic State. This is the U.S. now mourns the death of another service member. Details on that news as we continue.
So the WikiLeaks stuff just keeps on coming, and there's some new information that came out and emails from the Clinton campaign showing perhaps the most stunning example of alleged pay-for-play that we have seen yet. And we're going to show you what played out here. A conversation from Clinton staffers showing a $12 million donation that Hillary Clinton secured for a speech in Morocco. And this, trade-off for the speech and the money was arranged by Hillary Clinton, according to these emails. Top aide Huma Abedin writing, she created this mess and she knows it. Now, the reason they're calling it a mess is because it was right after she announced that she was going to run for president, and the speech was going to take place inside the window of running for president. So let's bring in Tony Saig, Republican strategist and Fox News contributor, and Julie Roginski, Fox News contributor and Democratic strategist. Hi, you guys. Good morning.
Good morning.
Lots to go over here. Good to have you both here. Let's put up this full screen from Robbie Mook, which goes into a little bit more detail here. Came up on our call with HRC, he says, referring to the arrangement to go do this speech for $12 million. And he goes on to say, John flagged the same issues we discussed, Huma. HRC said she is still considering. Abedin replies, the condition upon which the Moroccans agreed to host the meeting was her participation. This was HRC's idea. Our office approached the Moroccans, and they 100% believe they are doing this at her request. The king has personally committed approximately $12 million. Tony, your thoughts?
Well, it shows first the egregious lengths that Hillary Clinton herself had went to really enrich herself and the foundation. This was done when she was an announced candidate for president. Her advisors strongly recommended against it. There was a clear line of ethics and impropriety that was crossed there. And the fact that she was the negotiator, she was the one who brought up the idea and negotiated with the king, in and of itself, I think, just shows her character in this matter, which has been called into question. The second piece of this, Martha, is what Donald Trump asked her in the debate. In 2011, the Hillary Clinton State Department called the government of Morocco corrupt at all levels. They charged them with human rights violations. And here she is now 4 years later, negotiating a speech for $12 million with the king, putting all those concerns to the side. Shows a huge hypocrisy.
Well, they'll claim that the time frame is very important in terms of what happened when. She had left the State Department and she had not run for president yet, and this happened in the middle of that window, and that's why they're saying this could get messy. We might want to fix this situation. You referred to what Donald Trump said. Let's watch this.
These are people that kill women and treat women horribly, and yet you take their money. So I'd like to ask you right now, why don't you give back the money that you've taken from certain countries that treat certain groups of people so horribly? Why don't you give back the money? I think it would be a great gesture.
Would be.
Well, first of all, that money was going for charity. It wasn't going to enrich her. I want to be very clear on that. Look, I've been very critical about her involvement in the foundation. I think the foundation should never have been set up in the first place because she was a senator. And there's obviously allegations of a quid pro quo as a senator and obviously as a Secretary of State. So I'm not somebody who's coming to this saying that the foundation in the first place was a great idea. However, the timing here is very important. She was a private citizen at the time. She was no longer Secretary of State. She was doing this, again, for her charity. What is optically bad is that she was thinking about doing this after she'd already announced that she was running for president. I frankly, if I were looking at the optics of this, would have told her to just not get involved with the foundation whatsoever or involved at all. And frankly, Bill Clinton shouldn't have either once she became a senator, which is when the foundation was set up. But having said that, that's optics. That's not ethics.
But what we haven't seen in the past is her direct involvement and this back and forth that shows you just how fuzzy the lines are between the foundation and the State Department. And when Huma Abedin says our office, I'm not even sure which office she's talking about. She's talking about the State Department? She's talking about Hillary Clinton?
Well, this was after State.
Understood. But, we don't know when the original arrangements or discussions were made for this. So the lines are so fuzzy. And yes, a lot of the money went to the foundation, but we also know there were speeches for millions of dollars. Bill Clinton with the King of Qatar. So it's problematic.
And a significant amount of the foundation's money went toward paying salaries and travel and a lot of things for the Clintons.
Yeah, they don't have good ratings in terms of how much went to charity.
So to suggest this is a typically all charitable gift is not correct. The other problem for them, Martha, is ABC last week obtained through Freedom of Information documents and emails that showed that during the Haitian earthquake relief effort, special privilege was given to donors to the Clinton Foundation, friends of Bill Clinton himself, by her State Department, nearly $10 billion in contracts. We know from the earliest reporting that one-fifth of American uranium was given through State Department approval to a Canadian company with big ties, donor ties to the Clinton Foundation, that then sold it to the Russians. This is, again, another one of those trickling examples, to your point, of potential pay-to-play and corruption collusion. To your point, this is the first one where she herself conducted it and was at the center of it.
But she did approve the uranium deal. She
Correct,
was on the
yes.
committee that approved the uranium
That's
deal.
right.
Yes, but I do want to be clear on this. Everything you said is absolutely accurate, but I do want to be clear on something. She did this 2 or 3 years after she left the State Department as a private citizen, and that is a huge distinction to be made when it comes to corruption.
Correct, but she had announced running for president.
But she had announced running for president, which, again, optically, as you and I both know, because we work in the optics business with politicians, is a really bad decision to have made. But nevertheless, it's not illegal. It is not even unethical. It's just bad optics.
Well,
had she done this at the State Department, I think that's a whole different story.
But, you know, I mean, I just think Donald Trump, he makes a valid point. When you look at some of these governments and the way they treat gay people, I mean, we've seen horrific videos, people being thrown off the roofs of buildings, women being stoned for adultery, and Hillary Clinton, you know, has built her whole career on improving the lives of women and children, she claims. And then you look at these instances, and to be okay with taking money from some of these countries is something that the American people have to decide.
I do want to say this real quickly about Donald Trump. He takes a lot of money from Russia, according to his own son and his businesses.
It's a private businessman.
No, it was a private businessman.
Totally different.
Yeah. No, it's not different, because the Russians have awful human rights records, and he has no problem taking their money. It's not different.
No one has done more business with the Russians than the Hillary Clinton State Department and the Clinton Foundation.
What are you talking about?
They absolutely have. It's part of the public record. That's why
you have to do the
Stick
Russians
around
State
for part
Department.
2 another day, because we're way over. You guys, thank you very much. Good to see you both.
You guys should have your own show.
Done.
Oh, wait, we already do. An American has now been killed in Iraq as the battle intensifies against ISIS, and ISIS is not going easily. What we're learning about the battle for Mosul with General Jack Keane in a moment. Plus, an SUV, check this out, barreling into a bus stop, injuring several children.
There is a baby under the vehicle. Okay. Don't move them too much. Don't move them. If you don't move anyone.
So an SUV plowed through a bus stop in Kentucky, injuring 3 children, 2 of them critically. Police say the driver apparently didn't see the children when he swerved to avoid a school bus that was stopped with its lights flashing. The frantic aftermath caught on this tape to call to 911 rather.
There is a baby under the vehicle. Okay. Don't move them too much. Don't move them. If you don't move anyone. Let them be still. Don't move them.
I have a student that was hit at 32nd and Juvenile.
Officials say that the driver was also hospitalized in serious condition. He will be charged with driving without registration or insurance.
Major operation right now underway to try and retake the town of Mosul, northern Iraq, from ISIS control. The life of an American soldier has been taken so far, who was killed by an IED in this battle that is shown here. So we believe that to be Iraqi soldiers there firing into the town. The terror group responding to efforts to oust them with 2 deadly attacks today in another town known as Kirkuk. At least 11 are dead there. Retired 4-star General Jack Keane, Fox News military analyst, chairman of the Institute for the Study of War. How you doing, General? Good morning to you.
Good morning, Bill.
You basically have 2 phases for this, right? Phase 1 is underway. Generally speaking, how's it going?
Well, they're starting to meet some stiffer resistance from ISIS, and that was not, and certainly that was predicted. What ISIS by and large does, Bill, when the force is approaching, and they can see that there's a mass of forces approaching them, they'll run out a suicide vehicle bomber to try to create as many casualties as they can. They're also using small arms, that's pretty typical for this kind of a fight. And they also use mortars to also slow the advance. But the facts are, while the resistance is stiffer, the reality is the Iraqi army and the Peshmerga or Kurds are where they want to be. They have advanced to a point where they've gobbled up about 20-plus towns and villages in Phase 1. And in Phase 1 is preparation for the assault on the city. They'll bring up all the logistics and ammunition and everything that they need as they secure almost an encirclement of Mosul in the north, the east, and the south. They're leaving the west open so that ISIS can actually retreat as the attack begins in the Mosul in what they are calling phase 2.
Okay, 4,000 fighters, maybe 5,000. We'll see if the strategy works to allow them to leave. If they do, the point that Hillary Clinton made the other night is that you retake Mosul and force all the fighters back into Syria, then you go after Raqqa. Is that the long-term strategy?
Well, we really don't have a long-term strategy to defeat ISIS in Syria, which is their sanctuary. It's where their headquarters is built. It's from which they have been able to expand into 30 affiliates in other countries, and where they've motivated people to kill their fellow citizens around the world. So that has always been, in military terms, what we refer to as the center of gravity. But we have never had a coherent plan to destroy that sanctuary, and we still do not have that.
Yeah. Last question, General. I get the sense with a town like Mosul with more than 1 million people that you're going to have fighting that will be street to street and house to house. And it reminds me of what our Marine area that these Iraqi soldiers, the Shia militia, the Kurds now face ultimately?
Yes, this is classic urban warfare. The ISIS will defend in those buildings, obviously. They also have tunnels. They have a maze of IEDs and mines that are going to be obstacles to the assault, certainly. And the attacking forces will go very slowly, not only to protect their own lives, but they're very concerned about the civilian lives, that likely ISIS will try to use as many civilians as possible to shield themselves from the assault. Now, the lead unit making the assault is the Iraqi counterterrorism force, which led the assault in Fallujah and also in Ramadi. They are very experienced. They are trained by our special operations guys. They are the very best that the Iraqi army has. There'll be other Iraqi army units and also be some Sunni travel force units, but they will be the lead element, and they're very good at what they do.
We're going to talk about this a lot, General, as you know. Thank you, sir. Jack Keane there in Washington, D.C. Good to have you back.
Good talking to you, Bill.
So new developments today in the Clinton email investigation, the latest on a new push for James Comey to release more information on the allegations of the quid pro quo. What congressional Republicans say they are looking for now.
I think that in the case of Hillary Clinton, what Jim Comey said when he talked about all the things that she said and all the things that we now know that she lied about, I mean, did she lie to the FBI or not?
House Oversight Committee ramping up pressure on the FBI to get more information about quid pro quo allegations involving a top official at the State Department and his efforts to maybe take some of the C's and classified off a few of those documents if they would so oblige. Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Harris joins us now live in Washington. Good morning, Catherine.
Well, thank you, Martha. Based on this new letter to FBI Director James Comey, the Bureau must now provide all of the records about the alleged quid pro quo to the House Government Oversight Committee by Thursday next week. FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe must now brief congressional staffers immediately on why criminal charges were not pursued for a senior State Department executive and why the FBI agent involved was never interviewed or the subject of disciplinary action. These serious allegations came to light after the FBI released another 100 pages from its Clinton investigative file. The Oversight Committee chairman said the Bureau downplayed the significance of these records that contained the backroom deal allegations.
The FBI thought this information was not relevant. And that is just stunning to me because this is some of the most unbelievable set of documents that we've seen to date. And it really goes to the core of why we're so concerned and why we have to continue to do vigorous oversight.
Fox News is seeking comment from the FBI on whether they can meet next week's deadline, Martha.
So what are we learning about the Clinton email that's at the heart of all of this, Catherine?
Well, this is a very significant document because it was one of two documents that kick-started the FBI investigation last year. It comes from November 18, 2012. It has the subject line, Forward FYI, Report of Arrest, Possible Benghazi Connection. It contains classified information with the B1 markings, and entire sections of this email are redacted. citing confidential sources as well as foreign and law enforcement activities. Heavily redacted FBI interview summaries, known as 302s, report that Patrick Kennedy, a trusted lieutenant to Secretary Clinton, wanted to deep six this Benghazi email and apply a classification code that would allow him to archive it in the State Department's basement. In exchange, the FBI would get coveted slots for agents overseas. In the end, neither happened, and now the State Department is casting doubt on the competency of FBI investigators as well as the accuracy of the FBI interviews. Is it the State Department's position that the FBI interviews contain significant errors?
They're notes, actually they're notes from interviews. They're not facts, they're not conclusions, they're not investigative work.
Why was Patrick Kennedy working so hard to bury this email?
Again, I can't speak for recollections here in an interview.
An FBI 302 is considered by agents to be a document of record, Martha, just for some context. Meantime, the Republican chairman of the House Judiciary Committee has asked the Attorney General to investigate Kennedy for possible violations of public corruption laws. Martha.
And we know that he went back repeatedly to get those removed based on your reporting. So it was something that was very important to him to pursue. So great work as always, Catherine. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
So 18 days to go, and Donald Trump is on the trail today. He'll be in North Carolina, and he's defending his right to challenge the results of the election. Trump telling a crowd in Ohio that he will accept the outcome if he wins. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, senior advisor of the Trump team, with me now. Sarah, good morning to you. He also said he reserves his right to contest or file a legal challenge in the case of a questionable result. Is this now behind the Trump team, and or what is the status of this issue? Let's start there, Sarah.
Look, I think it is. Donald Trump's been very clear. He wants a fair election. I don't think anybody in America would want anything different than that. That's the point he's trying to make. He absolutely will accept the results of a fair election, but he wants to reserve the right to challenge something if there seems to be corruption or some sort of inappropriate action taken by the other side. No different than we've seen or had in any past election. We always have, every campaign has a staff of attorneys prepared to make a challenge if there's something that just doesn't fit right. So there's nothing happening different here than any other election.
Right? I mean, if it's close, right?
Well, absolutely, but
wasn't that kind
the
of
good news is, Bill, I don't think it's going to matter. I think Donald Trump is going to win, and he's going to win decisively.
Well, was that the nuance he was missing from his argument on Wednesday night?
I don't think so. Again, I think his whole point is we want a fair election and we want to reserve the right to challenge. Look, it's the Democrats that did this when we had a fair election in 2000 when they challenged, Al Gore challenged George W. Bush. This is something that they've done in the past. I think it's very hypocritical that they're now trying to raise a big fake outrage that Donald Trump would reserve the right to challenge something if there's an unfair action that's taken.
Sarah, you have 18 days. Polling suggests the election was moving away from you. We'll see what happens in a couple of days once we start to digest the events of Wednesday night. What is the strategy, Sarah, with 18 days to go to win?
Look, actually, 3 of the last national polls that have come out show Trump leading. But I think it's very simple. One of 2 people are going to be president after this election is over, either Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. If people are sick and tired of business as usual, a pay-to-play, scandal-ridden candidate full of corruption, that's controlled by the Washington and Wall Street elites, then Hillary Clinton is their candidate. If they're wanting somebody who can come in and shake up Washington and really make some significant changes there, then Donald Trump is their candidate. That's the contrast we want to make over the next 18 days. And I think that is why Donald Trump is going to win in November, because that's what people are looking for. 70% of Americans are still demanding change in this election, and Donald Trump is the only candidate that can bring that.
We will see what we get on November 8th. Thank you so much for coming back. Sarah Huckabee Sanders with the Trump team today. Thanks, Martha.
So it's a tradition during the campaign season, and it's supposed to be a night of good-natured ribbing. Cardinal Dolan there in between the 2 candidates. Did take a bit of an ugly turn, though, last night. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton both went low, shall we say, going after each other at the charity event. More on the jokes that landed. Some of them did land pretty well, and the others that just didn't go over so well.
Hillary isn't laughing as much as the rest of us. That's because she knows the jokes. And all of the jokes were given to her in advance of the dinner by Donna Brazile. Michelle Obama gives a speech, and everyone loves it. It's fantastic. They think she's absolutely great. My wife, Melania, gives the exact same speech. And people get on her case.
You could tell she knew that one was coming. She started laughing before the punchline. Donald Trump having some fun last night at the Al Smith dinner. Traditionally, this is a moment for a little bit of lighthearted banter. Everybody comes together, some levity at the end of a hard-fought campaign. But this year, just a little too much edge last night. Watch.
Now, I'm told Hillary went to confession before tonight's event. But the priest was having a hard time when he asked her about her sins, and she said she couldn't remember 39 times.
Speaking of health, Donald has been very concerned about mine. Very concerned. He actually sent a car to bring me here tonight. Actually, it was a hearse.
Let's bring in Dan Henninger, Deputy Editorial Page Editor for the Wall Street Journal. Dan, good to see you this morning.
Thank you, Martha.
What do you think?
Well, I thought it was an opportunity for Donald Trump to gain some friends at the Al Smith dinner. I mean, everybody in politics knows that for years the idea is to go in there and make self-deprecating jokes at your own expense. Trump certainly went in and made a good joke at Melania's expense. But when he got around to Hillary Clinton, got off a few good lines, but then he started talking as though he were in the debate, calling her corrupt and so forth. It wasn't funny, and the audience began, some of them, to boo and heckle Donald Trump. Watching it, Martha, I thought this was kind of like a metaphor for the campaign, which is to say, at this point in the campaign, Donald Trump's at around 40 or 41%. He somehow has to make 5 or 6% of the voters, mostly suburban Republican voters in places like Pennsylvania and North Carolina, have a reason to like him and to support him. But he seems incapable of appealing to those people, just as he was incapable of winning over this crowd last night. It's kind of a deficit in the middle of that candidacy.
All good points. Let's take a look at one other moment that this one actually landed fairly well in the room. Watch this one.
I know Hillary met my campaign manager, and I got the chance to meet the people who are working so hard to get her elected. There they are, the heads of NBC, CNN, CBS, ABC. There's the New York Times right over there, and the Washington Post.
You know, the room was receptive. I mean, as I said before, when they both walked in and got applause, I would say it was about equal. And as you say, everybody wants to like both of them in this environment. I felt they were very open to both candidates. But that opportunity just sort of went by the wayside once he started to go, you know, sort of darker and deeper, as you pointed out.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about Hillary. I mean, her jokes were funny by comparison, but she wasn't exactly Don Rickles in there. I mean, she delivered her jokes. They were pretty good. And then at the end, she got into a very serious, extended thing about Catholicism and anti-Catholicism, trying to appeal to the Catholics there. I thought it fell flat. It was good words, but she has such a hard time sounding authentic. She has real vulnerabilities out there in the campaign, and it's those vulnerabilities that Donald Trump should be going after, and in the content of her campaign on taxes, on redistribution. I think that's what that 6% is looking for. The reasons they want change has to do with taxes, regulation, the state of the economy. And if Donald Trump would talk to them about that, I think he could close the gap in some of these battleground states right now.
Yeah, I mean, at the strongest moments in his campaign were in September when he did speeches, all one after the other, very substantive, staying very focused on exactly the things you talk about, lowering taxes for corporations, getting, you know, regulations off the backs of small businesses in this country. Is it too late for him to close that gap?
given the nature of this campaign, I don't think it's too late. Remember, when he did that, he came neck and neck with her. The Democrats were in a panic. They were saying, my God, this guy could win. And then they had the debate, and then for 3 days we're talking about Miss Universe of 1997 and all the rest of this junk, and he dropped off. I think if he dedicated the next 18 days to doing what he did in that period before the first debate, he would have a shot at getting close in these battleground states, but we'll see.
Kellyanne Conway on board, and she had a big influence on the campaign, so perhaps he'd be wise to go back to that mode and see if he can revisit September. We'll see. 18 days to go. We like to keep it interesting, right? We want to see,
It'll be interesting.
We want to see a close race and make it very interesting election night. Dan, thank you very much.
Thank you, Martha.
Always good to see you.
So now 11 minutes before the hour, an eagle in the backseat of a squad car, and this is no jailbird. Got it. Come on.
18 days until the election and the gloves are off, as humor met harsh criticism at a big dinner last night in New York featuring Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. We have new battleground state polls to share in the fallout from the final debate. Also, Clinton's surrogates fanning out in states including the normally red state of Arizona, and Donald Trump expected to hold a rally during our hours from Fletcher, North Carolina. It's all ahead, happening now.
A rescue in Florida that is for the birds. Get it? A Florida state trooper spots an American bald eagle sitting by the side of the road. The trooper goes over, picks up the bird, places it in the back seat, takes him to a sanctuary. Turns out the bird was hit by a car, but he was not seriously hurt. The trooper says he has a permanent reminder of his feathered friend, the eagle's sharp talons, leaving marks on the trooper's arms. I like that.
Good-looking guy, isn't he?
Rescued that nice, beautiful eagle.
So the crew of the International Space Station rolling out the welcome mat. Some new visitors arriving today. And Phil Keating's live in Miami, finally getting some company. Huh, Phil? Good morning.
Good morning, Bill. Yeah, we are now growing from 3 people up there to 6 people, and that could be great, or maybe suddenly it feels a little too crowded depending on your space attitude. But NASA's Shane Kimbrough making his second trip to space. He did it back in 2008 on board a space shuttle mission. Also with him, Russians Andriy Borsenko as well as Sergei Ryzhkov. They blasted off from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan 2 days ago. Inside the Soyuz capsule, Kimbrough gave a nice thumbs up and wave on his way up, and the 3 space cowboys then orbited Earth 34 times over 2 days to get to where they are right now. And that is at the Poisk module, where early this morning the capsule slowly and carefully approached the space station 250 miles up above the Earth, with Russia's Mission Control then remotely docking the Soyuz into the crosshairs. As is space tradition, the old crew members, Commander Anatoly Ivanishin, Kate Rubins, and Takuya Onishi, heartily greeted with big smiles the new crew members, welcoming them to space and microgravity for the next 4 months. NASA's Shane Kimbrough and his Russian crewmates now begin their 4-month mission revolving up above us.
Have a great time on board station and enjoy your time.
Thanks a lot, Kirst. I'm glad you're there representing the U.S. Hello to everybody in Houston.
And arriving at the space station Sunday is another spaceship, the Virginia-based Orbital ATK's Cygnus cargo ship, which blasted off from Wallace, Virginia 3 nights ago, spectacularly debuting the new Antares rocket. Now, on board the Cygnus, more than 5,000 pounds of supplies for the crew, as well as the gear for dozens upon dozens of scientific investigations that they will now be conducting up in space.
It's like Christmas, huh? Santa came. Thanks, Phil.
Fresh food, fresh clothes.
Love it all. Phil Keating in Miami.
So 18 more days to go, folks. Hang in there. We are almost to the election. So where are the candidates today? What are their strategies in the final weeks? Wow, it is tense time. And here they go in the home stretch. We'll be right back. Almost great pumpkin patch time, you know, Bill? Some of America's favorite cartoon characters joining the unemployment line. Met's Life Insurance handing out pink slips to Snoopy and the Peanuts gang. ending a 31-year branding campaign. The decision reflects the company's shift away from consumer business to group insurance and international operations. They're even getting rid of their Snoopy blimp. What is that about? You know what I say to that?
What?
Good grief.
Good grief. That's right. It's a bad day when Snoopy gets fired,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, what makes you happier than that music?
Times are tough. I mean, the economy's really tough when they fire Snoopy.
I know. It's only 5 cents for psychiatric help.
Yeah.
It's a good deal, that insurance.
That's right. Sign says it right there in the house.
Works for me.
So I had a great time with you in Las Vegas.
We had a really great trip out there, didn't we?
So, yes, and now we await, and we're going to do a big old flashy debut for our new studio.
That studio
very excited
is
for.
fantastic. I can't wait for everyone at home to see it.
So we'll show you glimpses maybe here and there, but